Good morning and welcome to the Killik & Co market update. This week, the much anticipated results from NVIDIA were published and they did not disappoint. We have mentioned NVIDIA quite a few times in recent videos, but the movements this week just felt worthy of another mention. The stock gained over 16% after these results were published, and that led to an increase in market capitalization of $277 billion. And that is the most market capitalization that any company has ever gained in a single day. To put that into context, the biggest company in the FTSE 100 is currently Shell, and it's only worth £162 billion, or $205 billion. So companies in the US are simply on a different scale to what we have here in the UK. Here's the one-year chart, and you can see the shares have risen from just over $200 to nearly $800. NVIDIA is often thought of as a company that designs computer chips, but there's a lot more to it than that. It's well worth listening to the latest earnings call between the company's management and the analysts. The Q&A section at the end is probably the most interesting part, and you can find this yourself simply by Googling NVIDIA's earnings call. This is a Killik covered stock, so please do give us a call if you have any questions. And also this week, we've had the publication of the minutes from the latest Federal Reserve meeting. At this meeting, not a single member of the committee voted to reduce interest rates. For a while, there had been an expectation that interest rates in the US might be reduced in March, but that's now looking to be increasingly unlikely. The committee is clearly worried about the risk of reducing interest rates too soon. Here's a quote from the latest set of minutes. The committee does not expect it will be appropriate to reduce the target range until it has gained greater confidence that inflation is moving sustainably towards 2%. Interest rate expectations in the US did fall at the end of last year, but they have since crept up a bit, and we can see this by looking at the 30-year mortgage rates. While here in the UK it's very common for people to fix their mortgage rates for 2 or 5 years, in the US it's most common to fix for 30 years. The mortgage rates that mortgage providers offer are a reflection of where they expect interest rates to go. And you can see that mortgage rates have been around the 4% level for much of the last decade. They did rise to over 8% at the end of last year. They then came down to just below 7%, but they've now crept up again to just above 7%. Interest rates in the US are still expected to come down this year, but perhaps not as soon as some people had been hoping. And finally this week, we've had the latest FTSE 100 quarterly reshuffle. Looking at the companies that are being promoted into the index and the companies that are being relegated from the index is often a good indicator of the types of companies doing well and the types of companies not doing so well. This quarter, we have just one company going into the index and one company coming out of it. EasyJet will be rejoining the FTSE 100 index. The company really struggled during COVID, as all the airlines did, but since then there's been a real resurgence in demand for travel. That's been good news for EasyJet. The company returned to profit at the end of last year and was able to reinstate its dividend. Endeavour Mining, on the other hand, is dropping out of the FTSE 100, and that's after it had to fire its chief executive following a misconduct scandal. Here are the two share prices in percentage terms over the last year. You can see the rise of EasyJet in the green and the decline of Endeavour Mining in the pink. These quarterly reshuffles can have an impact on share prices due to the popularity of tracker funds. For example, FTSE 100 tracker funds will now have to sell Endeavour Mining and buy EasyJet instead. Moving on to have a look at next week, it's looking much quieter on the calendar as we approach the end of reporting season, but we are expecting results out from Salesforce, TJX and Universal Music Group. That's it from us. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Friday.